Good afternoon. This is Rich Nelson with Allendale. We have 4 special USDA reports to discuss here today. This is January 10th of 2014. First one we can point out is USDA went ahead and revised this fall's past production here. Corn production was actually lowered when the trade was actually expecting a good increase. In fact, we went from 13.989 billion bushels of production to now 13.925. So actually a decrease in production here that came even though we had an increase in harvested acres on USDA's most recent numbers here. We now are seeing yields declining from 160.4 to 158.8 for a nationwide U.S. yield here. And of course, like I said, the trade was expecting an increase in corn production here. Now, while this is something to look at as far as production goes, for stocks, we've got to point out USDA does have a separate report called the Quarterly Grain Stocks Report, which tells us how much is left over as of December 1st. That one is typically a big surprise for us here on the corn side because we don't have any good way of measuring demand for the portion of corn that goes to feed. And the only way USDA really has to see if they're in target for their feed use estimates is through these quarterly updates on how much corn is left over here. And the trade was expecting a 10.8 billion bushel corn stocks number as of December 1st. That would have been up 36% over last year at this time. The trade was very surprised with a 10.4 billion bushel estimate here. In other words, compared to the average guess, USDA pointed out 365 million bushels smaller. So a small grain stocks number means that usage must have been pretty good in the first quarter. So USDA went ahead and lowered production, as we said before, and they actually also raised usage for corn, which would have been a little something you don't see very often here. And that did give us a decline in stocks, ending stocks down from 1.8 to 1.6 billion bushels. And these ending stock numbers, this is USDA's target of where prices or of where stocks will be at the end of the marketing year, end of August here. Now, on the world side, numbers were not as bullish as this. They went ahead and raised Chinese corn crop from 211 million tons up to 217. On top of that, they also lowered imports from 7 million tons down to 5. So part of the very bullish appearing U.S. numbers were offset by this change on the wheat on the world side here. Keep in mind, it's very often that USDA over-exaggerates the demand changes from these grain stocks reports because the first quarter usage is always so hard for everybody to guess. Often, you see an opposite type of move for the second quarter usage, which will, of course, be reported in March here. So while these numbers appear bullish for corn, I cannot say we've got a good bull market starting, only that we're probably put in the lows and maybe we'll stabilize here for the short term. Now, as far as soybeans, production was increased, a moderate amount here, and the trade was expecting an increase as well here. So higher soybean production here. Now, as far as the stocks numbers, really not too much of a surprise either way for corn or for beans or wheat. Like I said, typically the stocks report is a surprise only for corn. So, USDA was left with the facts of higher soybean production. They went ahead and changed demand a little bit here and left U.S. ending stocks unchanged at 150 million bushels here. Now, on the world side, as far as the South American changes, they went ahead and added 1 million bushel or 1 million ton to their Brazil soybean estimate from 88 to 89, and they left Argentine soybean numbers unchanged at 54.5 million tons. So, in other words, a neutral appearing U.S. stock side, and really, I've got to say, mostly a neutral type of move as far as the world numbers as well. Now, as far as wheat goes, USDA typically does not change production numbers on this report. That's because, of course, the winter wheat harvest is usually done in the summer, and the spring wheat harvest is usually wrapped up by September. So we've had plenty of time to get these wheat numbers correct here. So this is really mainly a change on wheat demand here. And as far as wheat demand, USDA did lower demand on their estimates here today, which was a little surprise. The trade was expecting a decrease from 575 million bushels down to 557. However, USDA went ahead and lowered their demand estimates, and therefore their stocks estimate was raised to 608 million bushels here. So the numbers were a little bearish as far as the wheat goes. I will also point out, as far as that fourth report, winter wheat seedings. This one was a little surprise here for us. the trade was expecting a slight increase in the amount of wheat that was planted this fall, of course, for the summer 14 harvest. But USDA they threw us for a big loop here. In fact, 41.9 million acres was planted this past fall. 41.9. The trade was expecting 43.5 million acres to be planted here. So for this 2014 planting season for corn and soybeans, I've got to say, guys, there's a lot more acres now available for corn and soybeans from this winter wheat report here. So as a whole, the report was, a little bullish appearing for corn. Keep in mind, from the trade's mindset, these January reports, USDA typically makes a big move, and that will be revised the opposite way in the coming reports. So don't get crazy bullish because the corn numbers right now appear small. As far as soybeans, the report is mostly neutral from both a U.S. and world standpoint. And as far as the wheat numbers, like I said, a little bearish on the U.S. side. We were surprised with this drop USDA posted as far as their demand estimates, and therefore increase in stocks. Now, biggest picture that I'm looking at this from a long-term standpoint is the winter wheat seedings report and the drop in winter wheat acres. Like I said, that will mean more acres available this spring for corn and potentially soybeans as well. If you have any questions about this report, how it's going to change prices, or how to market grain in this report here, or after this report, give us a call here at Allendale. Our number is 1-800-262-7538. Thank you.